Good day, economic students. The purpose of this video is to review the principles of markets and to explain how the tools of supply and demand are used to analyze markets. Most importantly, to demonstrate how changes in the non-price determinants of supply or demand, or both in some occasions, ultimately affect equilibrium price and quantity in a market. So we have three market scenarios to analyze. We'll go through each of them individually. First one, the pandemic incentivized millions of older Americans to retire early and millions of other workers to leave the labor force for fear of contracting COVID-19. How will this phenomenon affect the U.S. labor market? So that is a market for a resource, in this case, the labor resource, the largest resource in America, 156 million Americans in the labor market. Second market scenario involves a change in supply and demand. Avocados continue to grow in popularity with U.S. consumers. A severe drought in California negatively impacts the avocado growing season. How will these two events affect the market for avocados? Remember, students of economics, whenever there is a market scenario involving a change in supply and a change in demand simultaneously or occurring at the same time in the market, either your price or your quantity, one of your two variables, one of the 2 points of interest for our economic analysis will have an indeterminate result. Third problem, potential home buyers looking to purchase an existing home. This has nothing to do with newly built homes. Believe housing prices will fall substantially in 6 months. How will this news affect the market for the current market for existing homes? Remember, when analyzing market scenarios, you're going to employ your understanding of the 5 non-price determinants of demand and the 6 non-price determinants of supply to ultimately demonstrate and determine how changes in demand or supply ultimately affect equilibrium price and quantity in the market. So we have the 4 graphs here in front of us. Graph A, an increase in demand, which causes equilibrium price to increase and equilibrium quantity to increase. Graph B, a decrease in demand, which causes equilibrium price to decline and quantity to decline. Graph C, an increase in supply, which causes price in the market to decline and quantity to increase. And finally, graph D, a decrease in supply, which causes price to increase and quantity to decline. Be familiar with these, understand these non-price determinants, because you will be asked to demonstrate your understanding of these 5 non-price determinants of demand and 6 non-price determinants of supply on a markets quiz. So let's review the 3 market scenarios introduced in this video. First one, the pandemic incentivizes millions of older Americans to retire early and millions of other workers to leave the labor force for fear of contracting COVID-19. How will this phenomenon affect the U.S. labor market? Remember the 4 steps. First, identify the market. In this case, the market is the U.S. labor market. 156 million Americans in the labor market. Well, that's what it is today. There were more before the pandemic. So that's the market. What's the non-price determinant? There's going to be a decrease in the number of sellers. Why? In this case, we're analyzing a market for labor, and the sellers are households who own the fruits of their own labor. But many of those individuals have decided to sell less of their labor, in other words, get out of the labor force. So the non-price determinant here is there are fewer sellers, aka individuals, in the market, in the U.S. labor market. What will that ultimately impact? That will decrease supply. You can see this in this shift from S1 to S2. This is graph D of the 4 graphs introduced on the previous slide. Most importantly, what happens because of this market event? At the new equilibrium, price will increase, quantity will decrease. Make certain you always have final results of what happens to price and quantity at the new equilibrium. Question number 2 is interesting because it involves a change to both supply and demand. So it says avocados continue to grow in popularity with U.S. consumers. That will affect demand. A severe drought in California negatively impacts avocado growing season. That will affect supply. How will these 2 events affect the market for avocados? So in both the supply and the demand scenario, we're analyzing the same market, avocados. Let's look at the scenario on the left first. Avocados become more popular, markets avocados, the non-price determinant. This is an increase in the taste or preference for avocados. How will this ultimately impact the market? It will increase demand. What's the result of the new equilibrium? Well, this will be similar to graph A. Price will go up, quantity will go up as well. How about the change in supply? Again, the market for avocados, non-price determinant, decrease in the number of sellers or decrease in technology. So the bad growing season either reduces the number of sellers of avocados, or you could say that you could argue that water is a type of technology necessary for growing, and there was a disruption in that technology. Either of the non-price determinants has the same result, a decrease in supply. The supply decrease at the new equilibrium will be similar to graph D. Price will increase, quantity will go down. But what ultimately happens? Well, if you look at on the left, the increase in demand drove price up. Similar to on the right, the decrease in supply increased price. So both the increase in demand and the decrease in supply increased equilibrium price. So we know for certain price went up. Quantity is what we call indeterminate. We're not sure if there was a huge increase in demand and only a slight decrease in supply or vice versa. Quantity is what we call indeterminate. Here's the graphical analysis of the economics discussed on the previous slide. Graph A, increase in taste and preferences, rightward shifted demand curve, price up, quantity up. Graph B, decrease in supply based on decreased number of sellers, price up, quantity down. It's important to draw two separate graphs when you have two events, one affecting supply, one affecting demand. As you can see when graphing them next to each other, the ultimate final outcome, for certain price went up as that occurred in both the increase in demand and decrease in supply. Quantity, you can also see indeterminate. Graph on the left, quantity is going up. Graph on the right, quantity is going down. Which one of these things is not like the other? For certain, we don't know. Indeterminate result with quantity. And now our last market scenario. Potential home buyers looking to purchase an existing home, so not a newly built home, existing homes, believe that housing prices will fall substantially in 6 months. How will this news affect the current market for existing homes? Remember, both demand and supply are schedules of the various amounts of a good or service that buyers are willing and able to purchase or sellers are willing and able to make available for sale. Series of prices, specified amount of time. So here we're looking at the current market for existing homes. Buyers expect future prices to drop. So this market scenario is going to affect what? Demand. All right, so the market is existing homes. The non-price determinant is expectations, future lower prices. That will decrease demand today, right, similar to graph B. So at the results at the new equilibrium with the leftward shifted demand, price down, quantity down.